Michael Jackson, master entertainer. The shocking passing of megastar Michael Jackson has brought his music back to the minds of millions. Although his style of both dance and song may have been superseded by a whole new genre, there were few singers or dancers who didn't borrow something from the artist known as the King of Pop. Among many prominent artists today are bits of Michael, just as he borrowed from the irrepressible James Brown. In Usher, Omarion, Neo, Ciara, Genuine, just to name a few, are glimpses of Michael Jackson's frenetic, almost robotic dancing style. As a commercial artist, he had no peer. His 1983 album Thriller not only won a Grammy Award, but spawned a dozen hits. The album would go on to sell more than any single artist's, 27 million copies. Years ago, I told my wife I didn't care for the artist. She told me to ignore all the criticism, the press, all of it, and look at him as an entertainer, like Sinatra. I did. She was right. He was a master entertainer who moved millions, not only with his distinctive vocals, but his dancing changed the art, like Muhammad Ali changed the sport of boxing. I never failed to marvel at his sheer brilliance in artistry. Recently, the jail showed a tape of Jackson's concert in Bucharest, Romania. An outdoor concert with more people than any of us would care to count. Jackson was in rare form, transfixing the throng with a show that was unlike anything they'd ever seen. For those who feel his music was mere bubblegum pop and thus devoid of serious social commentary, check out one of his later post-Thriller songs, They Don't Care About Us. Filmed in what looks like a Brazilian favela or ghetto, surrounded by thousands of dark-skinned boys and girls, many drumming to the beat. The song is an anthem of how the rich world treats the poor of the world. Michael J. Jackson was a master of his art. He may be gone. He certainly won't be forgotten. From Death Row, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal. These commentaries are recorded by Noelle Hanrahan of Prison Radio. Michael, man of contradictions. Michael Jackson was, in many ways, a living contradiction. Born black, through plastic surgery, he died with a somewhat white appearance. He passed at 50, yet kept a certain childlike quality about him. Although ostensibly apolitical, as a worker in popular culture and an artist, he inevitably had impacts that undoubtedly had political effects. As the first black artist to break through the white walls of MTV, he entered millions of white homes and introduced them to a tempo, vision, and sound that rocked their worlds. He studied some of the best dancers of his youth and integrated many styles into one, finally developing his own, an amalgamation of James Brown, Fred Astaire, Kelly, and Frank Sinatra. He was both a Peter Pan and an astute businessman. He was also a living symbol of the explosion of black pop culture in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Yet he never, as far as we read at least, chose a black woman to carry his seed. He was damned by the corporate press as an oddball, a child molester, or a has-been. Yet his fans were legion and loved him and his art unconditionally. For all that, he was reportedly achingly lonely. He was so commercially successful that when he put out an album and only 2 or 3 million copies sold, it was considered by the corporate press a flop because it didn't match or exceed his Thriller album. Ask any artist out there if they'd be happy with 1 million or 2 million sales. Through it all, he treated his life like the stage and presented performances almost as dazzling as his dancing. The Japanese nationalist writer Yukio Mishima said, "I want to make a poem of my life." Michael Jackson seemed like he wanted to make a song of his life. It may be a carol of contradiction, but it is too art of enduring quality. From Death Row, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal. These commentaries are recorded by Noelle Hanrahan of Prison Radio.